All right, we're back on. Welcome. And right now we have Angela Mounts, who's the Executive Director of Family Promise of the Harrisburg Capital Region. Welcome, Angela.
Thank you. Welcome.
So it's always good to start off with tell us a little bit about your organization.
So Family Promise is a 10-year. Family Promise, the Harrisburg Capital Region, is a 10-year-old organization. We turned 10 this year, and we are a interfaith hospitality network, which means that we partner with local congregations to provide shelter and hospitality to the homeless population that specifically targets families. So all of our families have children. And the one thing that makes us unique is we don't separate families. So a lot of the challenges that homeless families have, if they have like a teenage son, they're typically separated in shelter. Or if for whatever reason they're not married, then fathers and mothers are separated from their children. So we provide churches provide the living space for our families, and then our day center, which is located in Camp Hill, we provide intensive case management, fiscal education, childcare training, things like that, just to try to figure out what everybody needs, because everyone's challenges and barriers are unique to them. So we're able to just give a holistic approach by just being able to focus on the case management.
I wanted to ask you, I imagine a lot of folks have a perception about people who are homeless or experiencing homelessness. Usually, there's this perception of, well, it's this old guy who's drunk or on drugs or whatever. And a lot of times people have this perception of it's always a single person by themselves. And so maybe, I don't know if you could kind of talk about how homelessness impacts families. And, you guys are doing something that's unique, that's different, that shelters can't do because of the numbers that they have to be able to help. So I wonder if you could kind of talk about that for a couple minutes.
So what people don't realize is that a high percentage of the homeless population are families. And what defines a family looks different from what people think families are. And so people typically think of a family as a father, a mother, and then a couple children. But a lot of times families are a mother and her mother and children. And so families that experience homelessness have different barriers because they're disqualified from single shelters, which is what we predominantly have. Because you're right, it is difficult to set up a shelter for a family unit and allow them to stay together. So and you talked about the misconceptions, and everyone thinks that there's misconceptions of family homelessness also, but a lot of times we had one disaster that just crippled us financially, and now we can't pay our rent or our mortgage, and so we're behind. So for example, the current family that we have that we're sheltering right now, father had a medical problem, and then they delivered a baby. The mom was pregnant, and they had a baby that has a heart condition. So now one of the parents cannot work to take care of this child that needs to go to the cardiologist, that needs medicine every 4 hours, and it's a process. Like it's usually takes them about 20 minutes just to administer this medicine. So, and then the baby has to be monitored. So it's not like you can just take him to a typical daycare. So there was a loss of job. COVID happened. Expenses, with the other, they have another child that is autistic, and so they're now homeless. So we were able to work. They actually called CYS, and we were able to work with them to provide them shelter, and they're really back on the road to recovery. Dad has a job, and they are working to find an apartment that's appropriate for them. So
that's great news. I think I really appreciate that story because it just highlights this misperception that people have that, oh, if they just worked harder, or people are lazy, or whatever else. We had with our church, we were working with it was a father and a son, and they were both adults, and it was a situation where it was a health issue that just crashed them financially. And they had both had jobs beforehand, and they were working, and they were really successful. Actually, they had a beautiful house, had vehicles, all these type of things, and lost it all. Because of if you get paid based on what you're working, and you had been doing that, and you were really good, and then all of a sudden that goes away, your income's gone, and what are you going to do? And so people have to try and do something, right? So what are ways that people can support what you all are doing at Family Promise?
Because we are an interfaith network, an interfaith denomination, we rely a lot on volunteers. And so we have a network of over 400 volunteers, and that literally is what it takes to feed and shelter our families. So volunteering is a huge aspect, and you can volunteer at the day center if you have unique skills that you can teach, fiscal management, or child rearing, things like that, like parenting classes. Those types of opportunities are available also. We are campaigning to have monthly donors and people that can pray for our organization monthly and to commit to that. And so that is another way. I mean, obviously, that nonprofits rely on very little money. We do a whole lot with very little money, as you know. And so financial donations are always appreciated. For the businesses out there, like business sponsorship is always great to sponsor certain things that we have needs. And then the other ways are, donations of toiletries and things like towels and things that we all take for granted, that when families come in, a lot of times they can't bring all their stuff, and those are the things that get left behind. So
and what's the best way to reach out to be either to volunteer or for people to donate?
So you can go on our website, which is www.familypromisehcr.org. It's Family Promise and then Harrisburg Capital Region. You can email me at director@familypromisehcr.org, or you can give us a call at 717-737-1100.
So
thank you.
Yeah, there you go. It's just, we've got superstars working behind the scenes.
Awesome. Yeah, I have a great marketing person also, or technology marketing.
So I wanted to ask you, in light of the pandemic, what have you all had to? I imagine you've had to make some changes in how you provide services. And what are some of those changes that you've had to make, and what are some of those things that you haven't been able to figure out yet?
So we've had to shelter in place, which means that our families are stuck at our day center. But the churches have really been awesome about stepping up and providing us with gift cards and and food for our families, because now we have to figure that out. Our churches have really been helping us, and the population of volunteers is the older population, which is at risk. So we've been trying to keep them as safe as possible and just have really strategic conversations. The next problem that I'm trying to tackle is childcare has been an issue, because, as you know, the child daycare is shut down. And so some of our families did lose their jobs in that. And now, and that was a challenge. But now the next challenge is the children that are going to school. So I am working with one of our volunteers who's a retired school teacher on providing a resource, basically changing what is our boardroom into like a classroom and seeing if there's any retired teachers. This is another way that you can help that are interested. If just to come by and assist parents with educating their children. For example, this is like I cyber schooled one of my children for health reasons, and it's difficult. Like it's if you're not trained to be a teacher, and I don't know about you, but I've got like a 5th grade math skill. Like if it's right. It's not like I'm just like I have no idea. So we're just trying to find resources for parents as their kids go back to school, so we can support them that way and they're not struggling, because I think that a lot of parents are just really going to be struggling. And the other thing I wanted to say is you don't have to be connected to a church or a congregation. You really can volunteer. We have a lot of people that just they like our mission, they like what we stand for, and they want to help. So you don't have to be connected to a congregation. So
I also wanted to ask you, the governor extended the evictions moratorium, and we're grateful for that, but that's going to end. And
yes.
When that ends, all those cases that have been filed that have been sitting there are going to start to be processed. And I think a lot of folks can see that that's going to create a lot of evictions and a lot of homelessness. And I'm just wondering, are you guys preparing for that? How do you prepare for that? Right. But I'm just wondering as that deadline comes closer, what are your concerns? How are you getting ready for that? All of those type of things.
This is actually going to be a shout out to Angela from Shalom House. I'm not sure if you have a representative from them coming on, but we meet weekly, local homeless shelter leaders. We meet weekly via a meeting like this. And so Angela from Shalom House is starting to connect with hotels, and there's a hotel in Harrisburg that has agreed to give 10 rooms.
Oh, wow.
For that, to extend not only what all of our limitations are with our space, but then to extend that in preparation for that. And and we're preparing with not that we're stockpiling food, but being very resourceful with our donations and our food, just to prepare for that, because we are expecting a winter with a higher number of homeless families that, now that when the moratorium is lifted, if the landlords don't want to work with them, that's going to be a challenge for them. We're also proactively trying to work with landlords to talk to them about working with them in, can we figure out a way to pay their rent and get caught up and provide them with some fiscal education and some resources to lift the burden. So we've been talking about it. It's been actually the conversation for the last couple of weeks is what are our plans for when the moratorium is lifted.
Yeah, that's great. And I just want to highlight too that you've kind of mentioned something that often gets overlooked, is that landlords are partners in this as well. And and oftentimes it's the bad guy is the landlord, right? And yet we need landlords in order to have affordable housing for folks. And so I just want to highlight that in there. So Angela, do you have anything else that you want to share? Any kind of message that you dying to get out at 7:30 in the morning?
Yeah, 7:30 in the morning is a great time. I'm always up this early though. So no, I mean, you guys are doing, thank you for what you did. We did a sleep someplace other than your own bed campaign a couple weeks ago, and that was interesting to see what people did. So thank you for spending the night in the park in a hot night hammock. So I appreciate that. And I just appreciate everyone's passion. I can't tell you enough about, I know COVID has been like, it's a terrible thing that we're all walking through, but the thing that we're doing is we're all walking through it together. And you know, in our situation, we have 5 different denominations and 2 different faiths that all partner together without squabbling, without, you know, theological debates for one, just we're focused on one thing, is that to move families from homelessness to sustainable home, not just, we're going to put a bandage on that. But thank you also for mentioning the landlords. They need to be paid. Like they have bills too. So you're right. It's a circle that we all need to work in. So I've appreciated the partnerships with the organizations in Carlisle and the organizations in Harrisburg, and how we all have really come together to solve these problems together. We're not alone. So thank you for including me and our organization in your broadcast.
Yeah, and I have colleagues who have provided those shelters in their churches, and they always have very wonderful things to say about Family Promise. And I just want to pick up just on one thing that you said at the end there of, this idea that we're all in this together, and I hear exactly what you're saying. And at the same time, I think there's a bunch of us that we're all in this together, but there's also folks who haven't gotten on board with that, where there's folks that say that, and then like the actions and all that don't match up with it. And so it is important to have, what you're talking about, the different people from different backgrounds and different faiths and different beliefs and different politics and all these type of things actually coming together for something that everybody can get on board with, that has a common mission and a common goal. And that's when we're really all in this together, because then it's not, the separation and all these other things. So I just want to appreciate that and thank you. So Angela, thank you very much for coming on early in the morning. And
thank you.
And I hope you have a great day. I hope the folks that you're working with are blessed today to be able to get into some kind of housing. Yeah, that's the prayer that we have every single day. Absolutely. Is that we're able to find housing for people. Absolutely. All right.
Not just housing, but to change their lives.
Absolutely. Of course, right? The housing is just the means.
Yes, that's right. Right. You have a great day too. Hopefully you'll get a better night's night.
Yeah.
That's American history.
All right.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.